Welcome to another episode of the BPB podcast. We're here. Hi.
Hi. Yes, we are here. Hopefully you're here too.
Yes. Well, yes, we're hoping everybody is here for this one because this is probably out of all the episodes that we have sat down and really thought through before we just hit record. This is so important, and it's going to help thousands, if not millions of people, because today the episode is all about how to identify a scam. And I know I've got a lot of tidbits. So does Rory. There's so many different things we're going to go into about not only how to identify a scam, but making sure that you don't fall victim of it way in advance, because it's amazing how, especially in today's day and age, the scams are good. I mean, there was one just recently where I had to email Rory and say, "Is this a scam?" Because I honestly couldn't tell. Remember, it was from Craigslist. Remember that, Rory?
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't tell if this is a scam or not because it's it looks so good. So, yeah. So for all of you who are listening right now, if you have ever fallen a victim to an online scam or an in-person scam, a telemarketing scam, whatever it is, you're not alone. It has happened to so many people. In fact, here is just a legit statistic right out of the gate. 1 in 10. That means 1 in 10 of you listening right now will in fact fall victim or have already fallen victim to just an online scam alone. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
every year.
Yeah, I know. Just let that sink in. Every friggin' year. So
That means
here we are.
10% of people are falling victims to online scams or fraud every single year.
Every single year. And like I said, they're really good. And the people that are running these scams, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. So we're going to be kind of like a whistleblower today in a way on how to identify these scams. And just a quick overview, the topics we're going to discuss are online scams, text message scams. We're going to talk about mail scam, mail fraud, telemarketing scam, door-to-door, military scam. For those of you who don't know, my husband is a Marine, and so we get targeted for military scam all the time. And then
what's interesting about military scams is that 78% of people who are retired from the military have been targeted by scams. That's a lot.
It is a lot,
and it's unfortunate.
It's disgusting, is what it is. It's completely disgusting. And then we're going to share some additional tips at the end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and we're just going to get right to it. Right to it.
I think we should talk about how this episode came about.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So we were doing some research for some marketing for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking, and we were doing all this research and finding all these companies. And I started to notice this pattern that these companies had, and that there was things that weren't adding up. And so what we were finding is that there's these companies that are they're promoting services that are not legitimate services. They are scams in and of themselves. But then in order to make their service seem better, they're going out and creating other websites that are taking out their competitors by essentially writing bad reviews and bad comparisons about them that are not true.
Yeah.
And then they're also getting fake reviews posted on reputable review sites.
Mm-hmm.
And even though those reputable review sites do their best to combat that, there's some things we're going to talk about that we figured out that actually show you what you can do to tell if reviews are real or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this one thing, I mean, if you learn nothing from this episode, that'd be unfortunate. But truly, just the one thing to be able to identify if reviews are legit or not can help you grow your business or it'll break your business either way. Like it's so important so that you know what type of companies you're working with.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was really excited when Roy brought this up because it's something that gets overlooked so often because it's so common, which is crazy. So let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and talk about these
All
things.
right, so let's jump into some online scams. How we do that?
Yeah. How about we talk about phishing email examples? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so phishing emails. Um, it's not. They're not going out and saying let's go out on the lake and have a nice fishing experience. That's not that type of fishing. It's fishing with a ph. And what it means is that companies are sending emails out to you in order to get in order to scam you and get you to click on a link,
Mm-hmm.
or in some cases send you money or reply. But the key is that they are just trying to get engagement from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's brilliant about these types of emails that go out, what'll happen is people will embed inside of an email what's called link cloaking to where it looks super legit. I mean, for example, I could type like Craigslist was a great example. I could type like info@craigslist.com, but when someone actual or Craigslist.org, because that's correct, when someone actually clicks on that link, it'll go to a series of who knows what and go down this rabbit hole where it adds your data to some giant, database somewhere where then they can start targeting you for certain things. So if you ever open up an email and it looks shady, it is. Do not click on something if it feels like, what is this? And what's amazing about these emails is they on purpose, these emails are designed so perfectly to strike your curiosity in such a way where you're like, I have to know, what is this? Don't click it. Just delete it, call it spam, block it. Just don't do it.
Yeah, and one of the key things is to look at the domain name for where it comes, not the name of the person it comes from. You actually have to in Gmail you can click a little arrow button down and it will show the domain name, and then you have to verify that that is actually a legitimate domain name.
Right.
So you may have to take that and search it, not search the actual website, search that the domain exists and is legitimate.
And
Um, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you can do that via Who Is. It's a great tool that we use all the time if we need to figure out, hey, where's a domain hosted or who owns it? And it's a legit way of finding out that kind of information. So you go to Who Is, you can look it up on Google, and you can type in the domain there and it will show you everything you need to know. You can see if where the domain is based out of, who owns it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, and what the scammers will do is that they will create an email address that is maybe one character different or
Mm-hmm.
has an extra character in it.
Mm-hmm.
So example could be like Amazon, and it might say like from
Yeah.
Amazon.com, right?
Yeah.
And it'll look so close,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you have to pay attention. Okay, so this is one of the key things I want you to really think about when you're faced in these situations in your everyday life, that your own distraction is what causes the scams to work.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to pay attention and you have to really think about, what are you clicking on, what are the emails you're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
I know even it can just be so um such a small change,
Yeah.
and so you have to pay attention. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're bringing this one up because I also want to talk about domain name scams. I feel like
Hmm.
that's a really important one because for any of you who have purchased a domain before, you've probably gone through one of the bigger names, like GoDaddy or Bluehost or HostGator, or whatever. You've gone through the major channels to get your domain name. Now, if you receive something online or in mail, in physical snail mail, sometimes this will happen where it comes to you and it'll say, the owner of, I'll use, just our domain as an example, owner of bbbpodcast.com. And you open that up and it'll say you owe like $495 for your domain for the year, pay to whoever now. And if you're looking at that, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I guess it has been a year, I need to re-up my domain. Okay, I'll just write a check and send it off. And that happens, I mean, an unbelievable amount of time. It's just crazy. But if you read thoroughly, look in the footer of the physical letter, it will say, we are no way associated with GoDaddy.com or HostGator or whatever. And they'll just say, we are a convenience service. No, they're not a convenience service. They're going to take your money and say thanks, and they're not going to do anything about it. So be very aware when those come in. If it's not from the actual company that you have purchased the domain through, and it's highly unlikely that you'd ever receive a physical letter from a domain registrar, it's not real. And so when in doubt, flip the letter over, look at the bottom of it. Does it say that there's any association with who you've purchased domain through? Highly unlikely.
Yeah, and so how you can avoid this is, one is buy all your domains through the same company,
Yes.
and then set them on automatic renewal, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to think about it.
Don't even
And then
think
if
about
anything comes like that,
it. Mm-hmm.
and you think it's potentially legitimate, call the company before paying,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they will tell you if it's legitimate or not.
And I would say probably 10 out of 10, they'd be like, that's not legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just what's amazing about how all these things are written, again, like it's formatted in such a way where it evokes some emotion, either some anxiety, like, oh no, if I don't pay this right away, I'll lose it, or I can't get it back again. And so it's important to just take a deep breath and say, what really is this? What is this? And then you can really get to the bottom of it. And like Rory said, contacting the company directly is always best policy.
Yeah, and if they're trying to scare you,
Mm-hmm.
if they are trying to pressure you, like very heavily, then those are some of the signs to pay attention to.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how about fake reviews? We
Okay.
start
Yes.
talking about that in the
Hmm.
beginning, but maybe we can go a little bit deeper into this.
Well, this is a must. And I'm going to let you handle this one, Rory, because I feel like before we even started this episode, you had some great examples. So I'm going to let you take this one.
Well, okay, so fake reviews have been rampant online for many years. So some companies have started cracking down on them, and they do the best they can. But it's like a company like Amazon, it's so hard for them um, to really determine what is real and what's fake, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's other companies out there. One of the like Trustpilot is considered to be a company that provides shows legitimate reviews, and they do their best as well. But when you're actually looking at the reviews, you can start to see that some of these reviews are not necessarily legitimate. So the things to watch out for: have the reviews all come in very quickly or in a very short period of time. Even if that time period was like a year ago, did they all come like within a day or a week, and
Mm-hmm.
then nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one way to see if the reviews are fake. Now, the other thing that you have to look for is where are those reviews coming from. And if you go to their website and they have a bunch of people that look like they're from the US and they have all these great testimonials, and then you go and you look at the reviews on other sites,
Mm-hmm.
and they are all from like uh, you know other countries around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and hardly any from the US, then that's most likely a set of fake reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't trust either one, what they put on their website or on there, because it's not matching up.
Right.
The other things to look for are they speaking directly about the product or just in generalities?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, are they like, this is a great service, love it? Or is it like, um, I
Their experience.
yeah, their experience of actually using the service.
Mm-hmm.
And then, are all the reviews 100% positive? If they've got 1,000 reviews and they're all 1,000 positive, there's,
Mhm. Yeah.
probably something not right. And the reason for this, and we talk about this in another episode, is that you can never have perfect reviews. Your business is not that good. No one's business is.
True.
Okay. Um, and I have to remind our clients of that, especially when they're getting reviews for their books. I'm like, look, you're having real people read your book. Some people are just not going to resonate with it, and
Mhm.
that might be 1 out of every 10. It might be 1 out of every 50, but there's always going to be a review or two or five or 10 or however many that they're not going to like it. So
Well, yeah, of course, and everybody wants to be a critic. So if someone
yeah,
spots one thing wrong, they will call it out if they, you know what I mean? Like my book, for example, it gets great reviews, but I think it's sitting at like a 4.8 right now because somebody found like a couple typos. Okay, like it
you're right.
happens. Yeah, so not, like Rory said, nothing's going to be perfect. So I'm glad you're pointing that out. So yeah, if it's like 5 out of 5 across the board, something's a little bit odd.
Yeah. And then you can also look up the actual company, and
Mhm.
search for company name reviews. And don't just look at one website, look at multiple websites. I even found this with doctors where on um, their main insurance page
Mhm.
for their company that they actually have work for, um, they could have like great reviews. But then you go to a bunch of other sites where um,
Mm,
you know, that are that talk about doctors and rate them. And you go, oh,
not so
yeah,
good.
these people didn't have such a great experience.
Mhm.
So you have to
Mhm.
balance it out. You have to do research. You can't just take one thing and say, oh, it's this is the reality. You have to start digging
Digging.
deep. Yeah,
Mhm.
we've talked about research before, but you know, when you're faced with these situations, with any type of potential scam, or business, that you say it's a marketing business you're wanting to hire, you need to dig a little bit and see, like, are these real people?
Mhm.
Are they providing a legitimate service? Are the reviews real? Um, by and that's why word of mouth is so important these days. But even that's not a guarantee.
It's
Someone
true.
else could have been scammed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very, very true.
which kind of ties in with like marketing services, right? That we
Mhm.
wanted to talk about. Um, so yeah, all I can say, do your research. Do your research before
Yeah.
you hire someone or
Bottom
pay
line.
out money. And if it seems too good to be true, there's a good chance it is,
Mhm.
because when it comes, having online marketing businesses, um, we know that it costs money to actually provide real results
Mhm.
for our clients.
Mhm.
So when you see a lot of these companies and they're like, "Oh, we can do this and only be like $30 or $50," well,
Yeah.
those companies, you know, as business owners, we go, "That's not going to work," right?
Yeah. You're basically getting what you paid for. Not a
Yeah,
whole lot. Yeah.
and so and sometimes we lose out contracts to some of these scam companies because people are brought in with the idea of that they're going to have all of their dreams happen for this very, very, very low
Mhm.
price. And it's like it's not. We know what the marketing world is like. It's not like that.
No.
Okay.
Especially not today.
So yeah, I mean, it's changed so much. So when someone says that, they can guarantee you, we'll say, what would be a good example? Like, um,
Followers on social media.
followers on social media, and they'll say, we'll guarantee you 3,000 followers every month for $20 a month, things
Yeah.
like that.
Not gonna happen.
It's not, yeah.
Or it could happen really quickly, which leads me to another thought, which is all about click farms. So
Hmm.
I don't know if anyone's familiar with this listening, but there's a huge network of people that work for click farms. And what that means is if you need just a lot of traffic sent to something immediately, you can buy that really cheap. And it usually comes from Middle Eastern countries. India is really popular too, where You can get like thousands of fake bots that'll like something, or you know, be added to your Instagram account or whatever, and it looks great for like 10 minutes until people actually look and they see none of these accounts are real, and then after a few days they start to drop off, and then it harms your
Or
account.
even if they stay, they're not interacting.
Right, and so then it's
You're
kind
not
of
getting an engagement.
right, and then it becomes kind of useless to you as the
Mhm.
marketer, of your business, right? Or if you hire a marketing firm for your business, it becomes useless because there's no real data there to go off of. So when it comes to doing retargeting ads, for example, again, becomes useless because you have nothing. What are you working with? Fake accounts, and it goes against terms of service for policies for different social media platforms. So avoid that at all costs. It sounds good at first when you're like, oh my gosh, I can get like 1,000 um, or 10,000 video plays in 24 hours. Like, no, think again. Let's go a different route. Let's go a different route. So
Yeah.
that's a whole other scam. Um, yeah, that could be
Well,
an
and something
episode.
I just want you to think about. Okay, so there's a bunch of scammers on social media, um, and of the people that have been shown scams, whether through organic or through ads, 91% of people have actually engaged with these scams,
Isn't that amazing?
and 53% of people have lost money.
Yeah. Yep.
So this reminds me of um, an article I was reading recently about this whole scam system that this company had developed, and they're not the only company that has done this. And I'm sure you've probably seen these scams, and they're celebrity endorsed product scams,
Mm-hmm.
where they create fake websites stating and fake ads and stuff, and they state that a celebrity is endorsing a product. Willie Nelson was actually one I've seen where they're saying that Willie Nelson is promoting this CBD product, and what they're doing is they're tapping into the fact that Willie Nelson is known for CBD and marijuana. So they you would naturally think that, oh, that's going to be legit,
It's like a
that
trusted
could happen.
association.
Yeah, through
Yeah.
that association, and they build these whole systems. And what they do is they say, oh, we're gonna ship you a product. We're gonna either send it for free or a very low price for you to try out,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they send you some crappy product that's not even that great,
Yep.
um, and they lock you in to a monthly membership that is very, very, very hard to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how people are, scamming people and losing their money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, um, well, what are some other social media scams?
Well, on a personal level, I have had my identity stolen multiple times on social media. I got a friend request from myself one day. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. So I started digging into it a little bit and then found that all of my photos had been taken, all of my recent posts. Um, and this was probably 5 or 6 years ago. But that wasn't the first time it happened. And so I was actually, because of what I know how to do, I was actually able to track down who this person was. Um, and basically just say, I know exactly where you are, who you are, and why you're doing this, and you should stop because it's not cool. But for people who don't have that skill set, it's creepy because once you post anything online, anything, anything, you post it online, it becomes public record. And you might think, oh, I'll just go ahead and delete it, or oops, didn't mean to post it, delete it. Sorry, it's already somewhere. Everything you post on social media becomes property of that social media platform, and anyone can grab it and use it to their advantage. I've had my face on like adult websites, which was like really strange, and people were saying like, is this you? I'm like, well, that's my face, but it's not me. Like it was a really weird time to navigate through, like, how did this happen? And I'm not posting like lewd or illicit weird things. It's just my face with my family, and people saw an opportunity and grabbed it. So but what was interesting about this scenario and the most recent time that happened is someone also grabbed photos of my niece, And I remember being like, oh, now it's on. Like, this is not okay. Like, it's someone is grabbing photos of my family member and is trying to make money off of it. Like, oh, so and so needs money for camp or whatever the scenario was. And people were starting to send actual money thinking that it was me. So that's a whole other scam, right? Where it becomes personal. And then later I found out, like, hey, did you ever go to or send so-and-so to summer camp? Like, what are you talking about? That was not me. So yeah, those situations happen all the time, and it's really uncomfortable. So you have to be very aware of um, everything you post online.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up children because there's actually 1.3 million children have their identities stolen every year.
Right.
So this is really something you have to pay attention to with your own
Hmm.
kids of what information is getting out there,
Hmm.
and what photos you're posting, and how it could be potentially uh, used improperly.
I have a very deep sense of responsibility, obviously, because I'm a mom. But every time I post a picture of my daughter, Emma, it's very few and far between. It's usually a picture of like her walking where you can't see her face. Sorry. But if she is in a photo with me where her face is showing, she's very, very, very close to me or very close to my husband, Chris, where it's very obvious, like, this is not my daughter alone. She's with her family. And it makes it harder for scammers to pull that image and use it for something else because it's with other people. So be very aware. Yeah, it kind of baffles me when I see like even friends or family members post pictures of their kids like we're in the bathtub. I'm like, just because it's amazing how people can grab things like that without even thinking about it, you know? So yeah, unfortunately, like it'd be so fun. I take the cutest pictures of Emma all day long, but I don't share them. Like they're just for, you know, immediate family and for our photo albums because yeah, I I would hate for Emma to turn around one day and be like, why did you post that picture of me as a kid? Like, that's me. It's my face, you know? And so it's kind of, back it up. It's her right to do what she wants to do, but I'm not going to be the person that, you know, does something that could potentially be harmful down the line, you know?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then so, something you can do is you can do a website scammer check as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm.
And so we talked a little bit about this, but you can go through and there's even sites that exist where you can enter the website and and have um, and have it show you if that website is actually a scam.
Hmm. That's a really, really good resource. The other thing, and Rory, you and I have had a couple of clients that have come to us for this, just with their personal life. They were doing some online dating, and they came to us and said, "Is this profile real?" And so we were actually able to go in and do a Google reverse image search. Great tool where if you grab a profile picture from a dating site, you can see right off the bat where else is that image listed and is it a scam? And what's amazing, what's such a great tool is more often than not, it will actually pop up. There's a whole website called like onlinescammers.com, and it will pop up with like those exact images. So if you think you're being scammed at all via online dating, if that's something that you're doing currently, grab their profile picture, upload it, and see where it is because you might be very surprised and could avoid a lot of heartache
Well,
in
and
the
you can
end.
do the same thing with sites that use a front person
Yeah.
to create reviews
Mhm.
for products
Yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
they might be scamming, or they might be trying to just promote their own products. They'll use stock photos a lot of time, and it may not even look like a stock photo, but that's kind of the trick. They want it to look like a real person, and so you could just grab the photo and throw it into Google and reverse image search it.
Hmm. And if you try to pull my face and do it, you'll see the scam face. And I swear to God, I'm not a scammer, but my face is everywhere. It's just really unfortunate. So yeah, it's a great tool doing the reverse image search on Google. Let's talk about text message scams.
Okay.
And so think about how personal a text message is, right? You get a text and you're opening it like right away. We all have our phones on us. You're like, well, who's texting me? What is this? Um, the two that I've seen most recently have been the bank text message scam, where it'll be coming right from my bank. and it'll say, oh, your deposit is available. Please, check your most recent mobile deposit here. I do mobile deposits all the time, so that's not new. But the way that it was worded when I saw the first one, I knew right away that's not real, because it had these like weird characters in it. But for someone who wasn't paying attention, it would look totally legit. And if you click on the link, because there's always going to be a link involved with these, if you click on the link, it'll go right to your login, or what looks like your login for your bank. And if you put in your login credentials, guess what? Now the scammer has those. So you have
Yeah.
to be so careful. I forget where I heard it, but it's something like, if you, from the moment you click on a link, like an unsecured link, to the moment you enter in your login credentials, within 30 seconds, all of your information can be stolen, just like that. Your social, how much money you have in your bank account, it can be siphoned from your account. I mean, it's so fast how it happens. So you've got to be really careful.
Yeah. And that's the other key point, is that they can recreate sites that look just
Yeah,
100%
just
like
like it.
your current site.
Just like it.
That for whatever it is, maybe it's your bank or
Mhm.
whatever it is that you're trying to access to, or social media profile. They'll make it look like Facebook homepage, like,
Mhm.
oh, you just need to sign in.
Just sign in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't do it. The other text message scam that I see a lot, actually, there's two more. The main one that comes to mind, though, is the USPS, the postage, the FedEx, the UPS. It'll say your package is at the post office waiting for you to pick up. Click here now. You click it, it'll lead you to your Amazon account. Again, same thing, log in. And then now you've got someone ordering sneakily things from your Amazon account that's being sent to them. It's just, bottom line, if you receive a text message that has a link in it, don't click it. just don't click it. And the last one, or I'm sorry, just the last note that I want to say about the whole text message scam, there's, oh wait, no, there is a third. Hold on, because that just came to mind. One second.
Well, I got one.
You do? Okay. And all right. And then Rory has the third text message scam. What do you got?
So, one of the things, and this relates to phone numbers and text messages, is getting a new phone number,
Mm,
especially because one of the things as business owners, we tend to have multiple phone numbers for our businesses. We
yeah.
might have our cell phone number, but we don't want everyone in the world necessarily to have that. We
Hmm.
save it for our clients, so that we can actually communicate, not receive 10,000 calls a day.
Right.
So we'll get separate lines for our business, for setting up our businesses, and for interacting with leads that are coming in,
Hmm.
so that they don't have our personal phone numbers. And when you're setting that up, one of the best things you can do, because I did not do this, so I'm telling you from experience, the best thing you can do is, when they give you a list of phone numbers to go through the list of phone numbers and see if some type of a scam has been attached to that phone number, some type of you know uh, dating profile has been attached to that number. And that was where I got hit, is that
Uh-oh.
I didn't look it up. And I get text messages, probably like once or twice a week, from all of these kind of like scam, um, like profiles. Like someone must have used it as um, a dating app, or
Really?
what's the swipe,
Tinder or
Tinder, something like that.
Grinder or something? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll get these text messages, and it's like people like, hey, let's hook up, click my link, that type of stuff.
I'm
And
married, yo, got two kids.
yeah. And so
It's funny.
um you want to do your best to avoid being put in situations like that.
Yeah, it all comes back down to like doing the research.
Yeah,
All
and don't
comes back
click the
down.
links. If you do
Don't
get a
click
phone
the
number
links.
that ends up like that, don't click the links.
Just don't click the link.
Yeah.
That
But
should be our motto. Don't click
yeah.
the link.
But you can also block phone numbers from being able to
Mhm.
um,
Report
text
it.
message you, and you can report those phone numbers to your cell phone carrier.
Yep, exactly. Super good advice.
Yeah.
It's amazing if you have a smartphone, you can just like tap the phone number. Don't call it back. Okay, this is, huge right here. You don't want to ever call these people back, because once you do, then your phone number goes into this bank where they know, hey, we got a warm lead here. It's no longer cold. They're interested in what's going on. But what you can
Yeah,
do, so
not
don't.
not a warm lead. That would what they've got is what would be the correct term for that? Be like
Hmm.
um man, what I've heard the term used. I just can't think of it, but yeah, definitely not warm lead because we use that in business.
Well, but that's part of their scammer business.
Right, it is, but um yeah,
I
I don't know.
wonder. I wonder what it looks like on their end. You know, is it like not interested, couldn't get a hold of, hot potato? I don't know. Like what does it say? I'm curious. If you're a scammer, call us. Be so curious. Um
If you're a scammer.
call us and then I'll just like grill you. Um what was I saying?
Well, you probably got our phone number if you're a scammer,
Yeah, at this point.
right?
What was I talking about?
Reporting cell phone carriers.
Oh, right. So don't click on it, because then your phone number and information will go to this like bank of information. What you want to do is just hold your finger down, and to the right of that phone number, you can go down and say block or restrict. And that's what you want to do. And then that number will not contact you again. That number, I can't guarantee that weird company won't or scammers won't, but that particular number will then be officially blocked. So that's when I go back and look at my cell phone of like how many numbers I have blocked, it's hundreds.
Yeah.
Just, and again, comes back to like our phone numbers being listed everywhere. So that's part of it. All right, let's keep moving down the list here. What do we have next, Rory?
Mail scams and mail fraud.
Mail scam, mail fraud. So I talked a little bit about that with the domains, like the physical snail mail. You've got the domains that people are saying, pay us all this money when you don't need to. Make sure you always like turn over the paper, look at it really, really thoroughly.
Yeah, usually in the footer is where the
Mhm.
information is, right?
Yep.
And then the other types of ones that go hand in hand with that are hosting um, scams that
Mhm.
they'll say your hosting's up and that. Other ones I see are like car warranties. That's like constant,
Mhm.
especially if you have just recently purchased or leased a car. You're going to get tons of those
And
in the mail.
it looks so real. So I just bought a car a month ago, and they're coming in like crazy. It's just one after another. Like your car is up for its service. Register here. But I bought a Toyota, and it's not from Toyota, and it's very obvious that it's not. I mean, the logo kind of looks like it, but when you really like get down to it, you're like, no, there's no way this is from a legit company. And I sent Rory a picture of it. I'll post the picture for everyone in the show notes. It's the same thing, just in different colors with different dates on it. I'm like, yeah, that's not that's not legit at all. Doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that happens a lot. And then so yeah, car warranties, hosting, and then you've got mortgages, right? Oh my gosh, that's a big
Yeah, whenever uh, if you're looking for a mortgage and you sign up to one of these websites that say, oh, we're gonna get you the best rate and things
one.
like that,
Hmm.
what they're doing is they're taking your information, they're sending it out to thousands
Yeah,
of companies,
yeah, they're selling it.
and
They're making money off you.
yeah, they're selling it.
Hmm.
They're selling your information,
Yeah.
and some of them may be legitimate, but the
Hmm.
majority of them um, are scams, are
Hmm.
trying to get money out of you in some way.
Hmm.
And so, if you have a new mortgage or you're receiving these, um, only really pay attention to the ones that come legitimately from your bank where you have your mortgage. And if
Yeah.
something looks
Yeah.
shady, contact your bank.
Mhm.
Say, did you send me this?
Mhm.
I actually received something from the government recently, and it was legitimate, but it almost looked like a scam. So it can go the other way too. You have to really pay attention
I
because
don't.
scammers
Yeah.
are so good that they make it seem like it's legitimate so that you even start questioning the legitimate stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because by the time I actually received something in the mail for my new car that was like, register your car today, I almost threw it away. But then Chris was like, no, it says state of Colorado on it. It's like, it does? I had to like flip it over to see. So what's funny, yeah. So when you're so used and like trained like we are to like catch the scams, yeah, sometimes we definitely miss what's actually legit. It's kind of sad. So yeah, double check everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and some of the ways you can, spot a mail scam. It's if there's a claim that you've been selected for something,
Oh
that's a
yeah.
really big scam that people use.
Personally, hands down.
Yeah, yeah, and then if request that to confirm your personal information, you don't ever want to
Gosh.
give personal information.
Request for payment
Yeah,
or a
request for
credit card.
payment. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
Yeah.
big. Um,
Yeah.
and anything that kind of looks suspicious or is official looking,
Mm-hmm.
it can have fake seals, even from the government, from um, different companies, like you were saying, where it almost looked like a Toyota logo, but it wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to really pay attention. Sometimes you might have to actually go to the real website,
Mm-hmm.
find the real website and look at their logo and compare it. And is it even is it close, or is it exact, or is it not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. It's
And sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, there's also lots of scams with like gift cards and stuff.
Oh, I got
That-
a story. Oh
okay.
boy. Unless you have one, but I got one.
You go ahead.
So my grandfather, he's in his mid 80s currently, last year got contacted by a scammer who pretended to be my cousin. Now, my cousin is 16 years old, not a troublemaker at all, but my I don't know how this went down or how the scammers got this information, maybe from social media, but scammer got my grandfather's phone number, called up and said, um, hey grandpa, I'm in trouble. My grandpa was like, you are? I was like, who is this? And they said my cousin's first name. And he's like, well, what can I do? How can I help you? And they said, I need you to go down to the drugstore, and load $1,000 onto like a gift card, and then call me back and read the number off the back of the gift card. And my grandpa did it because he thought like that my cousin was in trouble. So of course, being like a good grandfather, not knowing what's going on, went down, loaded the cash onto the card, called that number back, gave them the information, and then my grandfather called and at the time, let me back up. At the time, he couldn't get a hold of my cousin, so he thought there was
Mhm.
something actually wrong. So then he called my uncle, my cousin's father, and said, is he okay? Like, where is he? And my uncle laughed and said, he's sitting right next to me. What are you talking about? So then they quickly like scrambled and figured out what had happened. And then by the time my grandfather actually got the gift card back, like the information back, the scammers had only taken about $20 off the card. But it's amazing how fast it happens when they're taking such extreme advantage. And that's part of robocalls, which is a whole other thing we're going to dive into a little bit, with just um, how uncomfortable all of this is. Like scammers are going meticulously through social media. They're looking at everything you're doing. They'll even find someone that sounds exactly like somebody else to try to get something going. A scammer called my grandma a year ago and said, "Grandma, is that you? It's Dominica." And my grandma hung up because she knew right away, I don't call her grandma, I call her Grammy.
Hmm.
So there's these like little things where it's important to pay attention to. And it's crazy. It's amazing how much money is being funneled in such a way, um, just based on false fear. It's really
Well,
sad.
your story reminds me of. Have you seen Space Force?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I just finished it. Yeah.
Yeah, in one of the episodes, well, it kind of went across multiple episodes, but like there was a main focus in it, and you
With
know,
Steve Carell, right?
with Steve Carell, yeah,
Yeah.
but um, oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. I'm gonna look it up. You can cut this out.
Sure.
um,
John Malkovich?
No. Okay. So there was this scene where Fred Willard was who plays the grandfather, Steve Carell's father in
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah. Yeah.
episode, but he plays the grandfather of Steve Carell's daughter. Um, and what ended up happening is he there was this joke that like he received this call stating that his granddaughter had been kidnapped and he had to send
Mm,
money, and so he sent this money, and his his granddaughter keeps going like, that's a scam, like I'm right here. But he was losing his memory,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And this happens so much, especially you know the biggest scams target the elderly,
Yeah.
and
It's so
pretty much
sad.
anyone over 50
Hmm.
is at risk of for scams online, because people who've grown up with the internet are more aware of them,
Yeah.
um, and what they look like and how to prevent them.
Hmm.
But they specifically, remember I talked about that article of that company with the celebrities. They choose celebrities that generation
Yeah.
knows, and they target them.
Yeah.
And they flat out said that if they did that with like a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old, wouldn't work.
Not nearly
Doesn't
as
work.
effective,
No,
which
like
is so
it doesn't.
gross.
It just doesn't,
Yeah.
um, because of just growing up with it. But
Right.
okay, then the other side is that 58% of all scammers are using old-fashioned techniques.
Hmm.
So online scams, like they're huge, but the bigger scams out there are some of these, the mail ones and
Or door to
the
door.
military ones and the telemarketing scams and the door-to-door scams.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazingly sad, but also just mind-boggling how many people are taking advantage of it. It's sad. So we talked about the robocalls a little bit, the gift card ones. The Amazon one is a big one where it's, send us your, or someone will call and say, send us your Amazon login information and we'll go ahead and verify your account. And, elderly are like, okay, I guess if you need it. Another common one out here, actually not out here because I'm in Colorado now, but when I was in California, PG&E, the electric company, that was a big one too, where PG&E would call up and say, you need to pay your bill right now, we're going to shut you off. But it wasn't PG&E. So you got to be thinking about the utilities. Rory, you brought this up tonight, which was so sad, about victims of the fires, the recent fires that happened this last year.
Yeah, so it was about a week ago. I heard on the radio about this scam, because there was a lot of fires in Oregon here, up and down the West Coast. I know you had a ton of fires in Colorado, and what these scammers are doing is they're going around door to door to houses, and they're saying, in order uh, to do an insurance evaluation for your home, you have to pay $1,000, and then we'll do an evaluation of your home. And what they're doing is they're taking the payment and running,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things is you, especially with door-to-door stuff, is you got to realize that the majority of it is in some way a scam.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff with like youth programs and stuff like
Oh
that,
yeah,
right?
it's a big one. Yeah, where they're all wearing, like, they go up and down door to door and they're wearing like the same bright orange or green vest, It's like, I'm raising money, to go to summer camp or space camp or whatever. No, you're not. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things is that one of their tactics is they try and pressure you to make a decision right away.
Immediately.
And
Yeah.
so what I'll do is I'll say, um, okay, if I actually am like engaging with the person, I'll say, um, okay, do you have somewhere where I can go and do some research about this? Where's your
Hmm.
website? Where
Supervisor.
supervisor I can,
Well, even then.
call? Then, even then you got to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of the time, what they'll say though, to try and get out of it is, oh, we're only in the neighborhood today because we moved from city to city.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. And that's a classic sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
Or, oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, sometimes companies will do this. Sometimes it's legitimate, right? Well, they'll be they'll say, oh, we're working on so and so's house down the road, um,
Mhm.
and we're offering a discount since we're going to be in the area this week.
Mhm.
Can we get you down for Thursday or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Some like in a
Down
couple
payment.
days, you
Yeah.
know, and and so the key thing to think about is, first you have to verify, because what they'll do is they'll go and they'll find out about the name of the person without actually having done the work,
Or
right? And
checking their
they'll find out
mailbox.
like your neighbor's name is John, and they go, oh hey, I was just we're working on John's house this week, and we're going to do this. So what you need to do before you commit to anything is go over to John and see if there's even a real company in that he
Yeah.
actually had the work done,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So something a very good lesson that I learned the hard way, very compromising situation I found myself in when I was very pregnant with Emma. I hired a locksmith. I just kind of went down the list. I was like, I need a locksmith right now. It was really hot and the doors in my house kind of like swelled or shrunk. I don't know what was happening, but my door wouldn't lock. And I needed to leave the house, and I couldn't leave the house without locking the door. So I called a locksmith, and they came out within like 20 minutes, and the guy said, all right, it's going to be $85. I'm like, that's a lot of money, but okay, fine. $85, just fix the front door. And then when he was done, he turned around and said, no, that's going to be $185. And I
Mhm.
said, no, 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 you said 85. He's like, no, I didn't. I said 185. And so I realized that what I should have done is written it down. So anytime anyone comes to do service work, and I know I was right. So I handed the guy $100 and pushed him out of the house and closed the door and locked it. But it was I was completely alone. It was very uncomfortable. And that guy could have taken some serious advantage. But I was like, here's your tip, get out of here. But now I know that anytime I do any sort of service work, if someone comes to the house, um, I always write it down, say, okay, let's just come to a quick agreement. How much is this going to cost up front? They'll say however much. I sign it, they sign it. At the end of the deal, if there's any discrepancy, nope, here's the exact number we agreed on. And so that has proven to be really good, especially if
Good.
there's a
Yeah.
language barrier at all. Like if there's someone that maybe you don't speak their language, their first language or whatever. It's a really good tip, so you don't get scammed, and so they don't feel taken advantage of either. It's a win-win. So write it down when you're getting some work done,
Yeah.
in-person work. Something else, or is there anything you want to talk about from door to door, Rory? Anything else on that? Door to door
I think
scam?
we're good on that. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Another big one that I can talk to quite a bit is military scams. So like I mentioned, my husband, Chris, is a Marine, and we bought our home through the VA, and thank God we got a great deal. But at the same time, we are huge targets all the time for offering this, that, and the other thing because of the military. And so we have to kind of wade through a lot of paperwork and things that we see, like, is this legit? Is this part of our loan? Do we need to take action on something else? Because it's just this nonstop stream of what's real, what's not. And I know there's some statistics somewhere, Rory, you and I were looking at it, about how many military personnel get taken advantage of so severely. Let's see if
Yeah,
we have
actually, I
it
think
here.
I mentioned that
Did you
earlier.
mention it already?
But it's like 78% of retired
Retired, yeah.
military that are
Yeah.
targeted for scams. So,
Isn't that
um,
insane?
yeah, so it's like military and elderly are like really big targets, but anyone can fall for it because um, the scammers have just continue to get better and better and better, and
Mhm.
they improve their techniques. And when they
Yeah.
find something that doesn't work, then they find something that does. Like that
Mhm.
is their whole system, and
Mhm.
they have whole teams of people who make
Mhm.
this happen. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
one guy sitting here. It's like they have um, buildings full of people all over the world trying to
Mhm.
make these scams work,
Yeah.
because it's such huge money. So much money is lost to scams, like billions and
Billions.
billions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. So here are some final thoughts for you guys now that we've kind of broken this all down for you, and we could go on for hours, but we know I got to wrap this up at some point, right? So
Yeah.
a few additional tips. We really want to make sure that we all, including both Rory and I, we all avoid becoming part of this system. Do not uh, do not call back. Do not click the link in a text message. Those are some very clear guidelines. Just don't do it. If something looks shady, it is. You have to verify, verify, verify. Do the research. If something is coming to you where it could be potentially exciting, or maybe a potential new client, or whatever it might be, do the research, because you just, unfortunately, in today's day and age, you just never know what's happening. So make sure that you don't become the 1 in 10 the 1 in 10 statistic that this potentially can happen to.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind is just like it's a lot to take in. There's so many scams, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
You have to like step back. You have to breathe. Just
Hmm.
pause for a moment and realize, look, there's these scams are there. They're gonna always be there.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend some time in your life dealing with these, but it's easier to deal with them the first situation that, like, as they come in, than to deal with the effects of having been scammed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's good to identify these things up front. So I hope that you guys have learned some stuff from us from this episode, because my goodness, it's a crazy world out there. Stay safe.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye.